So, hello, everybody. It is me, Demetra K, and I'm sitting here with Donovan, the recovering Democrat Sadiq, and it is the Demetra K podcast, but we put it on YouTube as well. Again, this is not live. We have pre-recorded this today, and so, of course, you guys know our live audience is on Sunday and Wednesday. But the purpose of the Demetra K Show is to promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even, because we are a great people, but there's always room for improvement. And so today we're going to cover two topics. One, we're going to talk about the Bishop Lamore Whitehead out of Brooklyn, New York. You guys have seen a lot about in the last day or so. So we're going to give our spin on it. And then we're also going to talk about Chicago, the Chicago Bears wanting to leave due to the high crime. And Mayor Lori Lightfoot has another option to stop the team from leaving. So we're going to get into that. Donovan, what say you?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Demetra K podcast. Do us a favor. Please like, share, and subscribe. Even become a member. We'd love to have you here. Yes, in the news today, a lot of stuff is happening. And Demetra's going to talk about the bishop, and I'm going to talk about Lori Lightfoot. And this kind of falls into what we've been saying, especially I've been saying in regards to Democrats and democratically controlled areas and the high crime rate within those areas. And it's going to be very enlightening in regards to the Chicago Bears and stadiums and things that your tax dollars pay for, that these owners get, and the economic impact of that and what is happening in the city of Chicago within the last 2 years of Lori Lightfoot being elected mayor.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and get into it. So again, as you guys have seen last day or so, this past Sunday, a pastor by the name of Lamore Whitehead was robbed as he was live streaming his service. And so I want to show y'all a video. So bear with me here. Here we go.
How many of you have lost your faith because you saw somebody else die what you about to go through? Yo. All right. I seen 3 to 4 men come in. That's all right. It's pretty much stating that I'm not going to do anything, right? Because I know y'all coming from me. Y'all coming straight to me. I don't want my parishioners hurt, right? I got women and children there. As I got down, one went to my wife and took all her jewelry and had the gun in front of my 8-month-old baby's face. Took off my bishop's ring, my wedding band, and took off my bishop's chain, and then I had chains underneath my robe. He started tapping my neck to see if anything else. So that means they knew. They watched and they knew that I have other jewelry.
The church's live stream shows the gun being held on the pastor.
They had the guns on my deacons that was at the door.
Whitehead says what you don't see on camera are around 100 congregants who were in the room. Men, women, and children dropped to the floor in silence.
My church is traumatized. The women and children are still crying. Still crying. Babies are still crying.
Police say the men took off in a white Mercedes. Whitehead says cops have a license plate and witnesses saw the men change clothes outside.
These men, they need to turn themselves in. I forgive you, and I'm praying for you. And I hope that God deliver you from the mindset of who you are at this time.
Whitehead believes his family was targeted because of the publicity he received when he helped turn in the suspect wanted in the fatal subway shooting of 48-year-old Daniel Enriquez in May.
I turned them in, but the media called me the bling bling bishop. They had my Rolls Royce car all over everywhere. And I feel that played the part in this. I think all pastors should be able to get permits for pistols.
The NYPD is investigating, and Whitehead says the mayor and top police brass have called him, pledging support to find the suspects.
Unbelievable.
So
Lord.
There's a lot of things going on with that. First of all, again, so that happened this past Sunday as he was live streaming at, I guess the church is a very long name, so forgive me. But he was live streaming there in Brooklyn. And as y'all heard, a lot of people refer to him as the bling bling pastor because he is very flashy. And I want to show y'all another picture of this pastor and his wife, because as you guys heard, his wife was also held up, if you will, in this little thing. And so, as he said, $400,000 worth of, hold on a second, let me get this up here. Bam. So that is him and his wife. As he said, it's about $400,000 worth of jewelry that was stolen from the both of them. Some people are saying it's even more at this point, but the last number I heard was 400,000. As you can see, they are pretty flashy. That appears to be her baby shower, I'm imagining, because they just had a baby, 8-month-old baby, as he said. The gunman put a gun in the baby's face, 8 months old. And so a couple of things struck me as weird as I was watching this video. Now, if you guys recall, in the beginning of the video, he was preaching and he says, have you ever lost faith because you saw somebody die and you thought maybe it would be you? And then right away, he goes, yo, and then he gets on the ground. So to me, I'm just going to, I'm just putting my spin on it. It looks like it was on cue, right? So did he say those things to kind of freak out the congregation? I don't know. I'm speculating really at this point. I don't know anything for sure, but just kind of my spidey senses have gone off. And so also in that report, he says, and I knew they were coming for me. Now, he also said in his congregation, there was about 100 people or so in there. So with 100 people being in there, how did you know specifically they were coming for you and then your wife, right? Because those are the only two people that was held up, if you will, and took something. Now, think about the dynamics of a church. In a church, they are on a Sunday, they're raising tithes and offerings. So usually there's a lot of money going forth there. You have other people in there that may have some money. Maybe they're going to pay their tithes. And so they have some checks or I don't know, whatever it is. Jewelry. Most people go to church, they're dressed up, and all of that. Also, another thing that struck me as weird was the man that was sitting behind him. I don't know if y'all noticed that there's a guy sitting behind him and he was completely unfazed. Completely unfazed, was not bothered. Now, most of the time, if you're in a stressful situation such as that, you are going to react to some degree, right? No reaction. And I also covered this on the African Diaspora News channel. The video will be out sometime today. So there was no reaction. But again, he got called the bling bling bishop because, as he said, that he helped apprehend one of the subway shooters, Andre Abdullah. He shot an unarmed man, unprovoked situation. So he helped negotiate him turning himself in. But when he did that, he would show up dressed up. He had a Fendi jacket on and all of his jewelry, and he showed up in a Rolls Royce. So that's how he got the reputation. So as you guys heard him say, I feel like it was the media's fault for painting that picture of me. All right. So all of that, that, and it's, some other things might have stood out to y'all. I'm going to just say right off the top, I think it was staged, and I think he's allegations, and from my opinion, I'm not saying it's true. To me, it seems like it was staged, and he's in on the heist. Donovan?
Wow. You said a lot, but see, this is goes back to the Creflo Dollars, the Price, Reverend Price, and all these, these pastors that are out there. Now, number one, looking at the jewelry from what he was wearing, even on the video, I don't see $400,000 worth of jewelry. You know what I mean? I just don't see the worth that was taken there. Who in their right mind would wear $400,000 worth of jewelry going to church? Even if you are the pastor, why would you do that? I saw on his hand, he had a couple of rings. He had a chain. Unless those chains are some kind of palladium, diamond encrusted type jewelry, how did he come to the value of $400,000? And like you said, if there was 100 people in the congregation, and we've been to churches that had small congregations, and never in a church that has a small congregation of 100 people, unless all of those people are in the top 5% of the population, and it's like a private church, I don't see how a pastor that only has 100 people in his congregation could have $400,000 worth of jewelry, a Bentley or a Rolls Royce or whatever it is, to sustain himself like that. And like I said, I've never really heard of this pastor until very recently. Now, Reverend Price here in LA, his son's taken over the ministry. It took him years to build up his congregation. Creflo Dollar in Atlanta, took him years to build up the congregation. So, like you said, the guy in the video, that was one of the first things I noticed. The guy in the video was sitting there like in the back chilling. And I'm like, wait a minute, you know, if somebody comes in with the gun, there's a chance you could be shot or killed. So the videos, it's very confusing to me because it's like, no, you just don't, you know, it just didn't make sense to me. He just immediately got on the floor and, you know, I don't think that's what a pastor would do, would just immediately get on the floor, you know, because he's a soldier for the Lord. So he's going to try to talk these guys out of it. And it's something in our community. And I got to say this, we have a reverence for religion. Thank you, grandmama. Thank you, mama. Back in the day, grandma would take you to church. She didn't care what your denomination was. You go into church with grandma. And these pastors would stand up. I mean, that's one of the last things Black people really think about doing is robbing the church. Because even if you don't believe in God, you still want to be sure, right? You know, so, you know, that's one thing you don't do. But the video is very confusing to me. And like you said, he seemed oddly calm as the robbery is going on. And the people behind him that are supposed to be his handlers or his bishops or deacons, something's weird about the video.
I totally agree with you. And so, yeah, I mean, it seems as though he's got a lot going on. And that's kind of what the word is going around now, that it seems odd. It seems staged, if you will. But I also know that he seems problematic in that he represents a lot of pastors. I don't want to say most of them, but a lot of pastors who get up in the pulpit with all of that going on, with the bling and the designer this and the Gucci
prosperity pastors, right?
Yeah, and all of that. And so I don't know where it says in the Bible, but I do know that he says that Jesus is supposed to be lifted up, not man. And so when a man gets into the pulpit and he's got all the bling showing and he's got the $3,000 gators and these zoot suits and the Gucci and all of that, it takes the focus off of the word and the Lord, and it actually puts it on him. And so let's say he was robbed. It's like, well, if you had your robe on and you wasn't all flashy and you're doing the most, you know, and it said too that he often, you know, drives around town. And somebody was telling me before I came on here, listening to rap music in his car, and he's got the Gucci, this and that on. And so it's like, brother, bishop, who are you serving? Are you serving the Lord, or are you trying to be, you know, of the world? Because those things seem rather worldly. I'm not saying that pastors should not have flashy things, but it's like you were in a position, whether you put yourself there, you knew it was going to happen, you were in a position to where somebody can run up in your church and alleviate you and your wife of your worldly possessions. And so the other thing is, you know what you're dealing with. Why would you put your wife in that situation? You got all that damn jewelry on your body, 400,000. Some people are saying more than that. And you didn't think that eventually that would be a problem. And then at the end, he says, this is why I think that pastors should be able to have a permit to carry. Well, it's like, yeah, I mean, there's some validity to that, because we know a thief and a robber don't care where they're stealing from. A lot of these mega churches and things like that, and I don't know if he has a mega church, they do have armed security and that, this, that, and the other. But he said that the deacons, they had the deacons commandeered with a gun. And so it's like, so yeah, I'm trying to picture a scenario. You have a pistol in the pulpit. What are you going to do? Start blasting in the church with all the congregants there, and you maybe shoot somebody?
Or he closes the door and says, there's not enough tithing going on. We're going to close these doors and I'm going to pull my pistol until we get to where we got to go.
Right. So, but you know, and you're going to start shooting because they're coming to get your things, or would you just not give them to them? So I don't know. Churches get robbed. Yes, indeed, they get robbed. But I just don't understand a pastor having a pistol in the pulpit. I could see maybe some security around the church or something like that. But, you know, if he did not set that robbery up, and I don't say this is what he gets, because I don't think he deserved that, but it's like he kind of asked for it by being so damn flashy, no security. And, you know, you're sitting there, and I'm sure Deacon Jones and them was probably older, and They don't have the whatever they need to do to stop 3 armed robbers from coming in there and snatching your stuff. Something's going on here.
Right now, Dimitri, you were in finance, and you kind of know this. Now, for him to outwardly admit he had over $400,000, which I doubt he had $400,000 worth of jewelry on him at that time. I doubt that. The first thing that I would look at, like I said, and I wasn't there, but I'm just seeing the video. I'm looking at what I saw. I did not see $400,000 worth of jewelry, in my opinion. But let's say that he did have $400,000 worth of jewelry. You were in finance. What's the first thing that is going to come up that you would have to suspect? Did he have insurance on that jewelry? Is he trying to make an insurance claim on that jewelry? I mean, on that take, what do you think?
Yeah, and that's what I said with my analysis of it yesterday. To me, and I'm saying to me because I don't have any hard facts about any of it. To me, it does seem like it's an insurance scheme. It could be. I would be interested in knowing a few things. What's the finances of his church like? What's his personal finances like? Did he bite off more than he can chew as far as being the bling bling pastor? I know he doesn't like that word, but I'm just going to use it because that's what they're calling him. Did he bite off more than he can chew? Does he need the money? Was it a setup? Because I would think that he would probably be able to pawn the jewelry. Of course, he's not going to get as much as he needs, but I would imagine if you have an insurance on the jury, they will give you what it's worth. Insurance is expensive, but I couldn't imagine you buying that much jewelry and not having it insured. And so what better way to prove that the jewelry was stolen from you than by having it live streamed? And then I don't care what you say. I can spot a bad actor when I see it.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, when he said, yo, I was like, you didn't put enough behind that. That was just my initial thing. So what better way to prove that it was stolen by having it done than to have it done on a live stream in church for everybody to see? And then he says he ran after them. What were you going to do, Pastor? You just said you didn't have no gun. What were you going to do? Now, the other thing is, because, I kind of be in tune to some of these things. They knew it was a white Mercedes, and they got the license plate number. And some people will say, well, if he was in on it, why would they have the license plate number? Well, they license plates get stolen all the time.
Yeah, you can switch license plate. That's why they're in public. You can switch license plates.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on with the story. And unfortunately, if he is lying, which I think he really is, he's going to be in trouble. Now, I should say this, and I didn't bring this up in my report on African Diaspora News Channel because I didn't want to kind of muddy the waters, but he does have a previous criminal record for fraud and theft or something like that. So he's been in the pen for fraud and burglary or something like that. So you just kind of got those two previous things working together. So it wouldn't be a stretch to say, well, maybe kind of dusting off your old skills. I don't know.
Well, see, now what is it that I always say when it comes to like these prosperity pastors? I'm always looking for a pastor that said, put it like this. I've never met a pastor that said this. I was the CEO of Amazon. I was the richest man in the world, and the Lord called me, and I gave it all up to serve the Lord. In our community, now I'm a Catholic, which is a little bit different. Catholics have their own problems. But in our community, if you're a Methodist, Baptist, whatever, Protestant, whatever you are, I go to these Black churches, and I always find that the pastor is either a former pimp, drug dealer, has some kind of criminality about him. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But all that person did, in my opinion, was take his gift of gab, if he was a former pimp, and he went to the legal side of it to grift off of people. Because that's what it seems like. Because I see the pastor being prosperous, but the church is poor. So if this guy has a church in Brooklyn, and he can afford a Rolls Royce and $400,000 worth of jewelry and all this other stuff, I would really like to see what that church looks like and what some of his parishioners look like. I would really like to see that. And again, he's a young man. I know he's younger than me, got a beautiful wife and everything like that. If he does have a criminal background, I'm not holding that against him, but I have to use my common sense and say, well, and I know people are going to be listening to saying, well, you can't be judging nobody. Again, if a person was convicted of pedophilia and they sent 30 years of their life and paid for it, would you let them work at a school? See, so to me, it would be the same thing, right? So you know, but you're still holding this past against them. You're still holding the past against them. So, please, in the Black community, show me a pastor that was a millionaire and gave it up because he heard the Lord call his voice. I have yet to run across that. And here in Riverside, we have a pastor that was on a fairly popular show. And he'll tell you stories of what he used to do when he was a younger man and stuff like that. And Demetria, do you realize we still haven't got that parking lot done yet? So, it is what it is. It's sad, but sad.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so it's strange to me, but not unusual. I mean, people commit fraud and stuff all the time. And unfortunately, if he is lying, he is going to go to jail. Now, it should also be said that Mayor Eric Adams there in New York City is, vowed to find the people who did this to him, and this, that, and the other. Of course, the men were wearing masks, but he's like, I saw their faces; they were black. You kind of tell they were black or whatever, but they were hooded, and so I don't know if they had masks on, but he said he saw their face, and so I don't know, I believe old Bishop is lying, and like I said, if I don't know if they can, but it wouldn't be hard for investigators or somebody to say, well, let us see your state of affairs financially. What's going on here? Because a lot of times, people do bite off more than they can chew when they get into the lifestyle of, buying all the flash and the cars. Owning a Rolls Royce is not cheap. I'd imagine it's a pretty expensive payment.
But you're rolling around in a Rolls Royce in Brooklyn.
Right.
You're making yourself a target.
Right. And I don't know what his church, how big the church is. At the time, he said there was 100 people in there. 100 people is not a lot of people. And I don't know if that's his normal size of his congregation, but 100 people is not a lot for and I don't know, he might have some other ventures. Maybe he's an author or he travels and he speaks. So I don't want to take that away from him. I don't know what else he does. I guess I could look. But if, let's say he is, living that lifestyle off of his congregation, 100 people, if that's his normal congregation, that's not a lot of people.
It's not a lot of people
on that lifestyle. And so
I have questions. I have questions.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that he just bit off more than he could chew financially, and he was like, "Listen, baby, these chains, and I mean, look at the chains that they have on.
That doesn't look like $1,000 chains. It just doesn't. To me, it doesn't look like it.
I mean, he said at the time he had the one on his neck, and then he had one underneath his robe, and he had, from what they said, I didn't see him, but this is what the report said, that he had a ring on each finger.
Yeah.
His wife's got on some jewelry. She got on some, pretty good sized earrings.
Let me ask you this though. Hey, honey, we're getting ready to go to church today. I want you to wear all of your jewelry today because I'm going to be preaching a sermon on prosperity.
And I'm going to wear all of my jewelry today.
Right.
Because look, even in this picture, he doesn't seem like he has all of his jewelry on. And this looks like their baby shower.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you this as a man, if I'm being robbed, the first thing I'm not going to do is get on the ground. I might back up, but I'm not going to get on the ground because usually men with any sense, you get on the ground, you lose your peripheral vision and stuff like that. You're most likely going to be shot in the back of the head or something like that. I'd rather be shot standing up and knowing what's going on versus anything else. So like I said, it's kind of suspect that guy being as young as he is, a former, I can't necessarily say criminal, but somebody who's convicted of a crime. And he just immediately went to the floor. That just doesn't happen, especially if you don't know what's going on.
Well, I don't want to take that away from him because I think he did the right thing in getting on the ground because I think even if he set it up, I think the natural instinct would probably be to drop to the ground. And even if he didn't set it up, I think also the other natural instinct would be, I'm going to comply. I'm going to get to the ground or whatever the case is. But it seemed like he did it rather quickly.
Right.
So and admittedly, I couldn't hear what was going on in the back for him to say, yo, yo, yo. So, from his vantage point, I would imagine he could see what was going on, from the pulpit, the back of the church. So I don't know. Maybe he saw it fast, sooner, a lot sooner than he actually reacted. I don't know. I'd have to see all the
get to see all the video. But what I'm saying is, if I was a robber, it's easier to rob somebody standing up than it is them laying down. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, because we're at level, I can just take it off of him and, you know, and do it. When a person's on the ground, now I got to roll him over to go through his pockets. Not that I have experience in this. I don't have any experience in this. I watch a lot of movies, but you know what I mean? And like I said, he went to the ground immediately because, okay, put it like this. If I was getting robbed in his situation, I have to assess what's going on. You know, your mind has to process, is this really happening? Are we getting robbed? Is this a skit? You know what I mean? He just went to the ground. So like you said, I have to see the whole video, but from what I saw, I was not convinced that that was a legitimate stick up.
No, not at all.
I didn't hear the robbers yelling or screaming, because if you're in a church with 100 people, you want their attention. You want to make sure they're paying attention. It's like they just walked up, hey, how you doing? Give me your stuff. Get on the ground, and they just walked out. I didn't hear any commotion whatsoever.
Yes. So yeah, something definitely is going on.
So, you know, because in a situation like that, it's a stressful situation. Wouldn't women be screaming?
Right.
You know, and I know they're from Brooklyn, and Brooklyn's a hard neighborhood, but you can't tell me the Big Hat Gang wouldn't be, oh, Lord, oh, my God, you know, something. You didn't hear none of that on the microphone. He just said, yo, and got on the ground.
Right.
So very, very suspicious. I hope this thing does play out well, and I hope it isn't what we think it is. And usually in situations like this, when the insurance company is up to losing a lot of money that they don't really want to pay. Another thing is, again, how long has he had his jewelry? That's going to play a significant issue in how long it's been insured as well. So hopefully this will play out in the right sense of the word.
Let me see.
And another thing you got to think about, one thing in our community, when you have a bunch of people robbing somebody, and what do I say on the show all the time, Demetra? If you get arrested for a crime, even if you did do it, even if you didn't do it, remain silent. And we know hopefully when they catch one of these robbers, the canaries are going to start singing. You know, they're just going to start singing, because there's no way, you know, a young robber, it looked like those guys were fairly young, is going to do 40, 50 years for this pastor's BS. You know, it just doesn't make sense. It's almost something out of a Dead Presidents. You know what I mean?
So I'm looking now, and it says that now they're saying it's $1 million worth of jewelry.
Oh, wow, he kicked it up.
His net worth is saying that he's worth, I just saw it too.
I've never heard of this pastor. Yeah.
I never have either, but it says that he's worth maybe $2 million.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, honey, look, we're going to church today. I'm doing the prosperity preaching, so I want you to take all of our jewelry. Now, I would believe this. This would be a bit better scenario. While he was at church, his home got burglarized, and they took the jewelry from there. But I find it hard to believe you were going to be on a regular Sunday with all of your jewelry. That makes no sense. $1 million worth of jewelry? I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. But in this country, you are innocent until proven guilty, and I'm going to give them the benefit.
Yeah, it does raise an eyebrow that they had, you know, that much jewelry on at church, you know, and you're up at the pool pit. I mean, who are you doing this for? And I noticed too how he called it my bishop chain. My bishop chain. So it's like, is that what bishops are wearing now?
Yeah.
Chains that are, and I don't know how much a chain worth, and I'm looking at too. So it says, how rich is Bishop Lamore Miller Whitehead? It says one of the wealthiest bishops, Lamore Miller. So I don't know why it's using that name. Is also a well-known politician and community leader. He is well renowned for showing off his expensive jewelry in public. He is well known for driving expensive cars and sporting chains and suits from a well-known fashion house, Gucci. The bishop also established the Leaders of Tomorrow International Ministry. That's the name of the damn church. It's like, Lord have mercy. Where he offered guidance to his followers and even streamed live from the church. A nonprofit nonprofit organization called the Leaders of Tomorrow International Ministries, Inc. is predicted to make less than $500,000 a year in revenue. The group is still waiting to publicly disclose its accountability and financial standing. See, Now we getting somewhere.
Yep. See?
Because
See?
remember what I said? Once you figure out how much the church is making and what he has, then it's probably going to come together a little bit. So the church is making, give or take, it says probably less than $500,000.
And his salary is probably at least $200,000 as he gifted himself a salary.
And they've not yet to disclose how much, their financial standing. So that's very telling too. And it says Lamar nevertheless has a wealthy and pleasant life at home with his family. Additionally, the company itself appears to be highly valued in the industry. He frequently seems to be the target of the public due to his flashy lifestyle, and people have always been curious in his real estate. He can have stocks on both in his name, in his family's name as a politician. So I didn't know he was a politician. Telling as well. Whitehead seems to be quite discreet about his house and possessions, though. Nevertheless, based on his way of living, he might also be the owner of a few estates. So it says he might also, okay, so if he owns a couple of estates, I want to know, how did he acquire?
Yes, what is his revenue to acquire those estates? Exactly.
So it says in 2022, his net worth is projected to be at least $2 million. He is a respected politician, a proponent of his community, and the bishop of Leaders of Tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. He must also have amassed a substantial wealth over the years as a politician. I don't even know, I've never heard of him before. Lamar Miller's career earnings, however, are now kept a secret because he wants to keep his personal matters private. Why?
You're a man of God. Why? And then if he has those kind of real estate holdings, people, you gotta use your common sense. Don't overthink this. Just use your common sense and logic. If this man has property in other areas, let's say out there in New Jersey, not far from Brooklyn, but it's out of the city, right? Why wouldn't you build a church out there?
Right.
In a better neighborhood, and just have, keep your local church local, but still build a better church out there. With 100 people in the congregation in Brooklyn, not saying Brooklyn's a bad area, it's being gentrified as we speak, but what is your main source of revenue to have the salary that you command? I know you have a nonprofit, but pastors also are supposed to be also paid in the church. If you got a man church, I can't see a person like that making no more than $50,000 a year. And that's a stretch.
Also, again, allegedly now, not $400,000. It's $1 million that him and his wife wore to church. $1 million worth of jewelry to church. Let's do some math here. He's got $1 million worth of jewelry, right? Okay, Donovan, you're a numbers guy. So you got $1 million. You and your wife got $1 million worth of jewelry. You, and I don't know if this is including his wife because I don't know what she does, but you are worth $2 million. Correct. Doesn't that jewelry also count as part of your net worth?
Sure, absolutely.
So perhaps now you only got $1 million in net worth because now $1 million was stolen.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm still trying to work it out in my head, but within that, it says a $75,000 Rolex watch, a $25,000 Episcopal ruby and diamond ring, Episcopal, $75,000 Cavalier watch, a pair of $25,000 earrings, a $20,000 Episcopal diamond ring, a $20,000 diamond and emerald cross, a $10,000 Episcopal gold cross, and a $20,000 Episcopal cross were among the goods that were stolen. So it says the total loot taken by the three armed robbers were $1,060,000.
Okay, I would really like to see what his congregation looks like, because as a pastor, if you are preaching to a poor congregation or an average congregation, wouldn't that be the wrong message to send them, that you got to have this name brand? Again, he's probably most likely a prosperity pastor. But again, for you guys that are listening, you're sitting in your cars right now. The only person that benefits from a prosperity preaching is the pastor. They're the only ones that benefit from that. The congregation never benefits. When you're dead, you'll benefit. Yeah, something's not right. The numbers aren't adding up. And again, his wife seems fairly young, so I don't know what possible job she could have. And to have all that stuff that he has, wouldn't you think he would move in circles with some of the stars and the millionaires and stuff like that?
Well, now they're saying he's a motivational speaker because I was looking on his wife. A motivational speaker. Let's see.
Oh Lord, he's just throwing stuff against the wall and hoping it sticks.
So he says, he, according to him, his church is a ministry that empowers people with the unadulterated word of God. He is currently in charge of his ministry. In high school, he was a well-known
pastor. Should have nothing to do with the church finances, by the way.
Okay, let's see who his wife is. So it says Arthur Miller. It says Miller was one of the most well-known evangelists raised in a devout household in Brooklyn. His parents were active in the community and politics. Arthur Miller, Whitehead's father, was employed by the government and was active in the neighborhood. 16 police officers beat him up on the street when he was young, which caused him to lose his father. Oh, wow. After that, he was nurtured by his mother and other relatives. Bishop Lamore's wife, Asia Key,
beautiful lady.
Dos Reese, because they both put in a lot of effort to assist members in their community, they are referred to as a power couple. Okay. And it says she is a devoted Christian and a bishop for Leaders of Tomorrow International Ministries and some other stuff. She founded the Unreached Champion. You are, Lord. What's up? Damn organization. The way it's spelled, You Are a Champion. It's UAREA Champion, all put together. You Are a Champion Network was founded by her for the purpose of assisting contemporary women in discovering the champion within them. Her network hosts numerous mentorship programs. So she does, women stuff. They have two daughters. Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, she's within the church as well, and she sounds like she has a nonprofit. So it sounds like their net worth is about $2 million. But if what I think is correct, and I could be dead wrong.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm thinking they could be worth $2 million. The church is bringing in less than $500,000. He's driving around in a Rolls Royce. How much is a Rolls Royce on average?
The average Rolls Royce, if you got the bare bones of it, is probably like $130,000, $120,000.
Well, let's see. How
or
much?
Maybe 80. If you got bare bones, you can get one for maybe like 80,000 maybe.
Okay, and it was a big one. So let's see.
Yeah, then he probably got $150,000, $120,000 car.
So I'm seeing that they range from $340,000. Okay? And that looks like on the low end.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like $340,000 on the low end for one of those cars. All right, let's do some more math. And listen, by the way, folks, I sucked at math. In fact, I sucked so bad at math that in the 7th grade, I got a whooping for being bad at math because I brought home an F and my mom whooped my ass. And she says, you need to try harder. I'm like, I don't get math, Mom. And so needless to say, I passed enough not to get no more ass whooping. So that's how bad I am in math even to this day. But
I had to take business math to get out of high school. That's how bad I was.
I had a professor that was like, I know you guys have been out of high school for a long time. I'm not going to pass. I'm not going to fail anybody. Just turn the homework and try. Everybody's going to fail. And guess what? I took them twice. That's how I ended up with my degrees. I was like,
yes, thank you, Lord.
So anyway, let's get to this math.
Okay, let's do it.
Rolls Royce on the low end from what I'm seeing. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Rolls Royces like in the 70s and stuff. So that's why I give the low number. Now I forgot they do make the newer Rolls Royces now. So yeah, that'd be in the 250. I'm looking at least 250.
So I'm going with this one, 340, and I drive a Hyundai, by the way. So know, nowhere near a Rolls Royce. 340. He's worth about $2 million, give or take. Okay. So you got the Rolls Royce, unless you bought it cash. I don't know. Maybe you're still making a payment. Or I would imagine you're probably making a payment. They ran off with $1 million worth of your jewelry. The church is bringing in
less than $500,000.
Less than $500, $1,000. You won't tell how you're getting your other money. And the church is, technically a nonprofit. We know nonprofits, typically see a lot of money. His wife has a nonprofit. So this is my assessment. I think that they're probably struggling financially. And that was probably a way to recoup some of that back. Let's stage a robbery because, again, if you take your jewelry to the pawn shop, and we've all been to the pawn shop one time or another, they're not going to give you what it's worth. They're just not, okay? And so They're gonna undervalue, give you less than what it's worth. So why not have you a robbery stage and then file an insurance claim on it? There's proof because I got robbed in front of everybody at church and live stream and all of that. I just tend to think maybe they're struggling financially, can't keep up with the Joneses. That's what I'm thinking.
But wait a minute, Demetria. Okay, look, I'm just using my common sense. Let's say I'm watching this guy. He live streams his video, his shows, and most pastors do. They have a live stream or they re-record it. We're in the modern time digital age. Everybody's recording. Why would I, as a bank robber, go rob somebody in the midst of them recording a service? I don't care if I got a mask or not. Why would I do that?
Well, you would probably do it because you were told to do it. And if you were told to do it, hey, guys, y'all know I'm going to be live streaming and I need the proof and this, that, and the other. Just make sure you cover it up real good. Ain't nobody going to know you, blah, blah, blah. But just play along. That way I need the proof. I'm going to give you a little bit of this, whatever the insurance gives me back. Because a couple of days ago, they were saying it was 400,000 and now it's $1 million.
$1 million.
So how do you go from saying that this is what I think people really should start putting on their thinking cap? How does it go from 400,000 to 600,000 more to give you $1 million? Because that's a huge jump. I can see if you said $400,000 is what was taken from me, and he said, "Oh, you know what? By the way, kind of like Sinead and did my math. It was actually 450,000, or it was 500, but 600,000 more."
Right, because wouldn't the insurance company assess that and say, no. From what we've got and what we got you covered, you're covered for another six. We assess it 600,000 more.
But that's a huge jump. It's a huge jump from 400,000 to $1 million now. So what's going on here? Okay,
so what is your bet that this is going to come out? And of course, he's going to come out with, well, I don't want to speak on it. If we're going through court, whatever. I will put this and say this. I believe there's some shenanigans going on and the truth will prevail. As the pastors always say, what's done in the dark always comes to the light.
Absolutely. I mean, and my mom used to always say, there's no such thing as a perfect crime. You know what I mean? Either criminals seem to leave one thing undone, or in the other case, they seem to do too much. And to me, if he staged this robbery, you did too much, because they, in summary, we'll get to your thing. In summary, they skip past all the other people in the church, targeting you and your wife specifically. Nobody else. On video for live streaming, and so everybody can see. It's just not making sense. And as I said, if y'all notice, when he said that, have you ever lost faith because you saw somebody die or something? And it was just like perfectly right on cue. Matter of fact, I'm going to show it one more time so that y'all can see exactly what I saw.
I just don't believe a bank robber with everybody having tattoos would willingly go and rob knowing that there's cameras there. I don't buy that.
Well, you buy it if you need proof. If you need proof that you were stuck up, because the insurance company gonna be like, Negro, really $1 million worth of jewelry for real? Now let's look at what he actually. Now this man, he looked like a goddamn Christmas tree. Look at all this stuff he got on. But we're gonna play the video, just the first part of it, and listen carefully.
Honey, make sure you got your jewelry on.
Yeah, listen carefully to what he says, and then watch his reaction after he says it. Pay close attention.
How many of you have lost your faith because you saw somebody else die what you about to go through? Yo. All right. I've seen 3 to 4 men come in. That's all right. It's pretty much stating that I'm not going to do anything, right? Because I know y'all coming from me.
This man got all this damn jewelry on. Look.
But it isn't really a lot. I'm thinking the guy would look like Mr. T.
Well, he said that he has some stuff up under his robe too, and that they went up under his robe and took the stuff.
The purpose of wearing jewelry on your neck is so they could be seen. That makes no sense.
Right. So he don't have is it a robe or is it an outfit?
Yeah, it's like an outfit type, one of those African-centric type outfits.
I want y'all to see that one more time. The first part.
How many of you have lost your faith because you saw somebody else die what you about to go through. Yo. All right. I seen 3 to 4 men come in.
Okay. Looking at that video right there now, Demetra, were the guys in the audience with their masks sitting there waiting for the cue? Because you don't hear any. Okay, look, even the ushers. I can't go into a church with my baseball hat on. I mean, they're just take your hat off. No bubble gum. You know, all that other stuff. There's no commotion, nothing in the back that they're bum rushing in. I mean, it's just like, here we are, boom.
He says that they had his deacons held up with the gun so they couldn't do anything. But
isn't there deacons inside the sanctum?
Well, a lot of them are, at the doors or outside.
Right. But there's some inside the sanctum too.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, when he said that, it was so quick. It was almost like it was on cue.
Yeah.
So that initially struck me as really, really weird. I don't know. Maybe y'all tell me if I'm reaching or whatever.
Yeah, we're going to have to follow up on this story because this is interesting. This is definitely going to be interesting.
So, Donovan, what you got to talk about?
Well, you guys know that we often talk about the differences between Democratic areas that are controlled by Democrats versus areas controlled by Republicans, right? But either party both work for white supremacy. We all know that. We all accept that that's how it is. But the fact of the matter is, you could legitimately look at a Democratic area and a Republican area and tell who controls it. Okay. So in the news, Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, she has offered the Chicago Bears football team an offer to prevent them from moving. The crime rate in Chicago has skyrocketed through the roof at about 35%, as they've been saying. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about what Miss Lightfoot is trying to do by bribing them $2.2 billion to renovate Soldier Field Stadium. Now, most stadiums cost at a minimum at least $4 billion. Soldier Field is one of the oldest stadiums in the league. It's one of the smallest ones. It only holds like 61,000 people. But ever since Lori Lightfoot has been elected in 2019, even the police associations has said crime has gone up off the roof, which is one of the reasons why the Chicago Bears want to leave the Chicago area. So let me read this little thing for you. It says, Lightfoot berated a journalist who questioned her city's rising crime rate and claimed that the crime rate is actually falling. Now, this is a Democrat, Lori Lightfoot. She's saying, oh, the crime rate's falling. You don't know what you're talking about. Unfortunately, her city officials' crime statistics show a year-on-year increase in violent crime and a massive spike since she took office 2 years ago. Now, remember, Lori Lightfoot also championed the fact that police are no longer going to pursue criminals on foot. Now, could that be a part of the reason why the spike is also happening, as police officers are not empowered to do their jobs to protect the community? So the Chicago Bears have rejected Mayor Lightfoot's $1 billion offer to improve their home stadium and are determined to relocate to a calmer, less crime-ridden area. The city of Chicago announced in a Tuesday press release. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, offered an incentive with a value up to $2.2 billion in renovations to the Soldier Field Stadium in hopes of convincing the Bears to stay in the city, according to the release. Now, not only are the Chicago Bears leaving, there's other exodus happening within the city. You have Boeing, which is a major aeronautical company. They are going to relocate their headquarters to Virginia. So a lot of the corporations that are listed there are leaving, and they are also stating the statistic of why they're leaving is the rising crime rate that's going on in Chicago. Now, notice, wherever there, in most cases, not all cases, where there's a Democratic-led city, there is a high crime rate in those cities. Donald Trump told Elijah Cummings, your area looks like a shithole. You shouldn't be saying anything. Los Angeles, Maxine Waters gentrified her thing and put a stadium there. But yet all these black folks were displaced and all this other stuff. These are in Democratic cities. So, what do you think is going on in regards to Lori Lightfoot, Demetra, in regards to $2.2 billion of tax money was offered to this private company, the Chicago Bears, and they turned it down.
What I think it is that they are tired of the crime, and admittedly, I don't know, exactly what is going on over there. But as I can see here, if that's Soldier Field, that's what it's called, right? From what I can see, the aerial view of it, I guess it's relatively close to downtown. And I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I'm going to cut you off. Yeah, it's close to downtown. It's right off near the riverfront where the airport is over. There's also a small airport over there. But they did renovations on that stadium like 5 years ago. So that's a fairly new renovated stadium. And she wants to give them more money to make them stay.
Got it. So if they're complaining about the crime, to me, it just seems like it'd be worth it to put the $2 billion towards solving that problem. And I'm not talking about giving it to the police. I'm talking about, implementing programs and helping bring more resources to the neighborhoods, because we know who they're talking about as far as the crime. I'm not saying it's all Black people, but it's who they're talking about. And we know that crime is pretty high in Chicago and a lot of cities, inner cities, if you will. And so instead of her trying to fix the problem of why it's so crime ridden, she wants to give their owners more money that they clearly don't need, because they're saying, nah, we're good, right? So it's not like it's money they need, but that just goes to show you, to your point, the Democrats would rather put a Band-Aid on things and say, well, we won't fix it. And my theory has always been this. A lot of times in these cities where we see there's a lot of crime and stuff, and it doesn't seem like the city officials are doing much to try to solve it, I often call it city-sanctioned genocide, right? Especially when the murder rate is so high in a lot of our communities. They could do other things by putting good community policing in, and just a whole bunch of other stuff. And I'm not in law enforcement, so don't get me to lying. There's a lot of things that they could do, but instead they let the behavior go unchecked. We hear about a lot of people in the neighborhoods who are afraid to even go outside and things like that, because they're scared of being hit by a stray bullet. People are afraid to be robbed. So a whole lot of things are going on. The city know these things are going on, and they do nothing to do it, to curtail it, minimize it. So that's why I said I think the city sanctioned genocide, because, here is a perfect example of that. She would rather give it to the owners of this stadium who don't want it, opposed to saying, well, let's put that money into the community, figure out how we can make things better for the citizens that live there. Because this football stadium, I know they use it for concerts and other things that, but that's a thing in the community opposed to the people in the community. Right. So what is more important?
Yeah, at $2.2 billion, you don't think Chicago could solve its homeless issue and problems? They can. This stadium annually gives the city $166 million approximately in revenue to the city. It's $166 million. So to give them $2.2 billion to stay and, like you said, not solve the problem doesn't make any sense. And also, you got to remember, most of the people that work at that stadium, just like the one in SoFi in Los Angeles, these are seasonal jobs, part-time jobs that create jobs for, unfortunately, the average working person that works there. It's a concession thing. It's football season. They do the football. They do this. It isn't nothing with benefits, but it does give people basic seasonal jobs. So where do we go from there? You know what I mean? It's like, why aren't these Democrats solving the problem versus just throwing more money at the owners who have more money than they can do with?
Well, in my opinion, the Democrats aren't solving the problem because they are actually a part of this whole, this whole, it's not even esoteric at this point. It's really covert more than anything, but they're in on it too, as far as getting rid of a lot of our people. I guess you could kind of maybe tie it to the eugenics project, the Negro project and all of that. And that's why I call it city sanctioned genocide, because they're like, eventually the Black people will kill themselves. They'll get rid of themselves. So the faster they kill each other off, the better. And we can get on to the business of keeping it elite and keeping it white. And I said elite and white because there's a lot of Black people who are elite as well. And so oftentimes they let this stuff go unchecked. And so the Democrats are also in on the fix, because they could fix that. Like you said, that stadium does offer a lot of seasonal jobs, whether it's a concert or games or whatever the case is. but we know those jobs typically are minimum wage or somewhere close to it. So it doesn't allow somebody to work there and to be able to take care of themselves. And so a lot of those people, and I've been to football games, a lot of those people are our people. They're Black people and other people like Hispanics and things like that. And so I say all that to say that they could put the money back into the neighborhood, but I believe that they're in on the fix as well. Let them take themselves up out of here so that we don't have to do it. It's not as obvious as we do it. It's like the police and, the Planned Parenthood, which that kind of seems like it's kind of backfiring with the whole Supreme Court thing and, a whole host of other things that they're doing in our neighborhood. So the Democrats are in on the fix as well.
Sure. And you got to also think about this, especially all the listeners that are listening. If they fix the problem, then we won't need their leadership. Correct. So it's kind of advantageous to them to keep crime and stuff going so that people are in fear to keep voting them into office into these situations. Only I alone can fix it. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of funny. I look at all this insurrectionist stuff that has happened, and none of the big fish have been caught yet. If we did half of the stuff, or just one of the things Donald Trump did, we'd be locked in chains and, almost executed for trying to overthrow the government. But yet this man is walking around still saying the same rhetoric he keeps saying, and nobody's doing anything about it. Garland, who is the Attorney General, who is a Republican, for a lot of you guys that don't know that, Merrick Garland is a Republican and a staunch constitutionalist. I really feel that they're hoping Trump would die so they don't have to do anything. You know what I mean? Because it's just like the guy that was Enron. Remember that guy that was head of Enron? When he died, when a person dies during a criminal convictions and stuff like that, during a court case, the case goes away and there's no conviction. There's nothing. It's like nothing ever happened to him. And that's what I think Merrick Garland's working on. But these Democratic cities that we're talking about, Joe Biden, this Democratic leadership, totally inept in what they're doing. Joe Biden has not kept one promise that he promised on the campaign trail. And there's rumors that Kamala Harris has been meeting with longtime Democratic donors to possibly run against Joe Biden, or if he's not going to run in that spot. But the thing is, I will tell you this, Dimitri, before we get out of here, and for those guys that are listening, if the Democrats run Joe Biden as president in 2024, they're going to lose. There's just no doubt in my mind they're going to lose because he doesn't have the Black millennial vote. It's just cut and dry. And if they run Kamala, they're definitely going to lose.
I mean, I totally agree with you. Nobody wants Kamala. Nobody wants Joe. So they need to find a more suitable candidate, if you will. That's why I think Gavin Newsom, I've heard, but I don't know how official it is, that he's thinking about running. Gavin Newsom obviously is the governor of California. He'd be a lot more palatable, if you will, than what we've been seeing. But at the end of the day, they're all in the same gang, if you will, same party. They have the same agenda. It just looks different, right? It's just like, have you ever gone to a movie and it's like, damn, I've seen this movie before. I didn't make this movie. It's just different actors, maybe a little bit of a deviation from the script, but the premise of the movie, the plot of the movie, the end of the movie is the same.
Kind of like Star Wars, The Force Awakens. That was just a remake of the first one. If you really look at the plots to it, it's just a remake.
Yeah, and most so it's all the same if you ask me. But back to Mary Lori Lightfoot. I mean, she's been a horrible person since she's gotten into office, especially with the Laquan McDonald situation where ex-officer Jason Van Dyke shot Laquan McDonald in the back as he was running, and they did a big job to try to cover it up and didn't want to release the information. And
and then the young lady that was assaulted in her apartment by police, she tried to cover that even though she had saw the video, acting like she never saw the video.
Yeah, so she was complicit in that, and a whole lot of stuff, and a lot of times too, people vote for these Democrats. When I say people, I mean Black people, especially. Mm-hmm. We vote for them, especially if they're Black Democrat. We think, oh yeah, they're gonna be a game changer, Lori Lightfoot. And a lot of times when we get these Black, look at Mayor Eric Adams in New York. He's just probably one of the worst mayors as far as Black people are concerned in modern history, because he's an ex law enforcement, so that makes a lot of sense. But he's talking about bringing back the plainclothes police officers again. That's the ones that killed Eric Gardner.
Gestapo. Yeah, the Gestapo. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he wants to get rid of crime, and he's not too against that stop and frisk. And a lot of these Democratic states and cities and stuff, they actually want to explore that stop and frisk because they feel like it will help minimize crime. But we know stop and frisk only netted like less than 5% found any criminal activity out of the tens and thousands of men, Black and brown specifically, that were harassed by this law. But I heard Black officials, I think it was Philadelphia, as a matter of fact, the city council, all Black except for one is a white guy. They're saying we want to bring back stop and frisk so that we can, because remember during the 4th of July, I think the parade got shot up or something. So they want to bring back stop and frisk. And it's like, but you know who that predominantly harms? That's our people. But again, those are Black Democrats who are talking about stop and frisk that will harm Black people mostly. But they don't care because they want to, and let me finish, they want to appease the white people. And specifically, they want to appease in San Francisco. This is what happened to Chesa Boudin, the DA who just got recalled. The Asians led that campaign and says, well, he's not being tough enough on crime. And they're letting these criminals, Black people, get away with doing stuff for us. So they had a successful recall. And now they got a Black woman sitting in there who is going to do the bidding of the Asians and being tough on crime. So
of course.
And that's stomping ground.
Yeah. If you want to be tough on Black people, you get a Black woman to do it.
And
Absolutely.
the Black mayor, London Breed, selected, because and I forget her name at this point, appointed this Black woman. And I was listening to her talk. She sounds just like Kamala. Oh, it doesn't matter what you look like. We're not going to put up with this, and we're going to be tough. And then, because she only has a job for a couple of months, because now she has to campaign for the job.
Right.
So now that she's sitting in the job, heads are going to roll. It's going to be horrible for Black people in San Francisco under that Black woman. Watch.
Yeah, the good thing is there's not a lot of Black people in San Francisco because it's a very expensive city to live in. So, but
the ones that's in there, they causing all the crime and the mayhem. We need to get rid of them. Yeah,
it's going to spin over into Oakland and all the predominantly Black area cities out there.
And but even Oakland is hard to live in. It's expensive.
Expensive, yeah. The whole Bay Area up there is expensive. So, but yeah, I always ask people all the time, and I know we're going to get ready to close this out. I always ask people all the time. You see, the Democrats have all of the power. Right now, they have all of the power, but yet they pass what they want to pass, and then we are always left holding the bag and nothing gets done. Is it feasible that the Democratic Party, which is a racist party to begin with, they started under racism. They're the ones that fought against the Civil War. They're the ones that had a 20 million membership Ku Klux Klan membership that supported that, Southern Dixiecrats, all of this stuff that shows you what the Democratic Party really is. And yet we blindly 98% vote for these people. And I'm not telling people how to vote. You should vote your pocketbook and stuff. But why is it that our people cannot seem to fathom that they are voting for a party that is steeped in segregation and racism? They just don't want to believe it.
It's not that they don't want to believe it as much as they won't do their research, because oftentimes the truth is hard to accept. That somebody for a long time has been telling you, hey, this is party, they ain't for you, and they don't want to hear it. Some people, you won't even get that far. Like I told y'all when I was at getting my headshots done, the sister that was taking my pictures, she wanted to, because this is when the Roe v. Wade thing was going on, and they had just overturned it and all this other stuff, and she was saying how wrong it is, and we need to vote Democrat and all this, and she trying to take me to school and stuff. I'm like, sister, one thing I'm never gonna do is just vote for the Democrats, because y'all talk about Trump might come back, because that kind of was our argument, was Trump is going to come back. I said, and what if he does? I said, can you honestly answer how you're worse off now? I mean, you were worse off then than you are now. I said, wouldn't you agree, since you seem to be so smart, that you're probably worse off now? She said, nah, but we just don't need to get Trump back. And then her phone rang. I was like, sister, I got to go.
Exactly. But think about it right now. When I say the Democrats have all the power, they're just now trying to codify contraception into law. It just passed the House a couple of days ago. They're just now trying this stuff. Now, what did the Democrats say a few years ago? The biggest problem in politics is Citizens United, money in politics. What are they doing about that? Nothing. Why aren't they trying to put more judges on the Supreme Court? They're not doing that. Is it feasible, Demetra, that these parties are the same? They're just playing good cop, bad cop.
And you know who tried to point that out? And I know Andrew Yang has this issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he
but
does.
If Andrew, and I've said this before, y'all can go and look back, and Donovan and I both said this, if Andrew would have made the ticket for the Democrats, I would have voted for Andrew Yang because his policies made a whole lot of sense. And one of those policies he was talking about was that of the donor dollars, or what was it called?
Liberty dollars or something like that.
It was right on the tip of my tongue. I want to say it's called donor dollars or something like that. But basically, what it is it'd be $100 given to each American, and they can donate the money to whatever candidate they want, totally getting rid of dark money and lobbyists and things like that, because we know that the lobbyists and dark money, they control politics. And so his thing was, we get rid of that and we allow the citizens to donate to whatever candidate they want. And so that money would be considered honest money, and the people would have decided who should go for it, because we know that big money often wins campaigns. Just a fact. And so he was talking about those things, but we also know that because he was so progressive and kind of way out there with a lot of the things he was talking about as far as normal politics is concerned, they weren't going to have him run for president. But he had a lot of ingenious ideas that I could completely see working, but people didn't want that, including that of the UBI, Universal Basic Income, where he was going to give Americans $1,000 to $2,000 extra a month, 18 and over, to 18 to 70 or whatever. So it's like, how could you not want that?
And notice that the Democrats shot that down. Both parties, anytime there's a agitator or a third party rises, both of those parties work together to shoot that down. We have so-called progressive Democrats, but yet, as soon as they got in there, Nancy Pelosi slapped them so silly, like the Three Stooges, that they fell right in line. And they keep giving you excuses after excuses of why they can't get into none. Their answer to solving Donald Trump and to get Roe versus Wade redone and all this other stuff, vote for us. We need more people. That's their answer.
Right. And so those who did not want to vote for Andrew Yang, and he wasn't necessarily for reparations, although he spoke to it and he understood the need for it. He was for giving people money, $1,000, $2,000. And that would have been a game changer for a whole lot of people. But instead, people wanted to vote for Joe Biden. And Joe Biden's like, I don't even want to give y'all a rotten peanut that dropped on the damn ground.
Get your asses back to work.
Yeah, but you shot down the idea of getting $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And you know what most people asked back then? Where would the money come from? But you don't ask where it comes from when they send all this money to Ukraine and giving it to Afghanistan and all over the world. You don't ask where that money came from. But where this money was going to come from.
Right. Well, think about this. Stimulus checks. 300 million. I'm just saying 300 million. I'm not including the children. 300 million Americans got a stimulus. No study. How many trillions of dollars did that cost?
A lot. So, but that's what I'm saying. So when people talk about reparations or UBI, where the money gonna come from? But you see Joe Biden writing checks, just like here, making it rain on different countries like they strippers.
Right.
But you don't ask where that money coming from.
Exactly.
So anyway, y'all, we thank y'all so much for being here. We love and appreciate y'all. Of course, we have ways to donate to the channel: Cash App, Cash App and YouTube, Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal. Of course, you can become a member at the very least. Like this video and subscribe and become a member. We would love to have you here. And so we will see y'all, me and Walter, tomorrow on Wealth Wednesdays with Walter. I don't know what he's going to talk about, but hopefully it'll be something interesting, as it usually is.
Is Walter back in the country?
He is back in the country. Yes. So we'll talk about, I don't know, you guys will find out when I find out tomorrow. So you guys do have a great day and stay cool out there because it is very warm.
Absolutely.
Peace.